the media and all the various organs of the media. And in such circumstances then an opportunity to revisit something is actually an opportunity for the referee to put right what he didn't get instantly correct in its entirety in the real-time situation of the game.
Why don't the GA and why don't your committee just, as they do in other sports, just take it upon yourself? You say, look, we've looked at this again. We think this deserves a bigger punishment. And you do it yourselves. Well, as they do in rugby, for example. You're actually sending it back to the referee.
The simple explanation is that we don't have the power. Under the disciplinary system introduced in 2006, the Competitions Control Committee schedules games, deals with disciplinary issues arising from games, but it cannot suspend anybody. We don't suspend.
But you can change the system if that's the case.
Well, the opportunity is there each year at Congress to change. Each Easter, the opportunity exists to change the system. There is a motion on the floor at Congress this year emanating from Longford, and I believe maybe prompted by John Bannon's point of view, that may introduce a change if it gets the 2/3 majority. But the system has been there from 2006. It has been there unaltered since then. And we are constrained as a committee. We have to work within the rules and the regulations. And by the way, there's nothing unique about the Competitions Control Committee in Croke Park. There are at least 2 such committees in every single county in Ireland, and sometimes even more in counties like Cork, Kerry, Tipperary, where the divisional boards. There are over 100 Competitions Controls Committee on this island, and they are all constrained by the same rules as we are.
What about the point, though, that came through in that report, and again it's what people are saying about this thing, that, you know, this is fine. You show the Tyrone-Derry match and hand out a heap of suspensions afterwards. But another game then, in the same competition that hasn't been seen or hasn't been videoed or whatever, the same rules don't apply. This seems to be the beef that a lot of people are having with this.
I can understand that point of view. You'll understand as well that I cannot comment on any individual game.
No, but generally, the whole point. Yeah.
In any particular instance. But the reality is that a full schedule of National League games throughout the country and throughout the island on any one day, that the same level of coverage will not be available from the broadcasting organisation like yourselves. It simply is not available. Now, it is a fact that we are not dependent on video evidence to initiate an inquiry or an investigation into a particular game. We can also receive information from other quarters, like a member of the committee or members of the committee. The disciplinary rule book even states that a member of the association may pass along information that may merit investigation. That is the variety of information that the committee might have at its disposal in any particular instance.
Mickey Harte, as a football manager, I don't want to get bogged down on the Tyrone situation, the Derry game and all that, but generally, we know, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, as I said to Seamus, what the GA are trying to do here. Mm-hmm. Is it not incumbent upon players and managers and selectors to improve their level of discipline as well to help this situation out? Because a lot of what's happening, because we see, like week in, week out, is pucking off the ball and a fella hitting a fella dig when the referee isn't looking, and even in the clip we saw an example of that. Isn't there a responsibility amongst managers and players as well towards this?
Of course there is, but I think it would be wrong to exaggerate that this kind of stuff goes on all the time. It's very much a minority facet of the game.
Accept that.
But the thing I'd like to talk about is the consistency of the application of the rules the CCC tell us about, and that application has to be, if you're going to use video evidence and only televised games, and there's lots of games that are not being televised. That is not a level playing field, and it cannot be. And I heard some sort of tenuous analogies during the week there. I read some about comparing it to Garda speed checks, comparing it to CCTV and dark alleys and all the rest of it. That's not a logical sort of analogy at all. Because we all know that there isn't Garda cameras to go for every road in Ireland, and there isn't, you can't cover all the dark alleys in Ireland either, but you can cover all the National League games. It won't take a huge effort. So one camera of a standardised version at all of those games would put us in a place where whatever that camera picked up at any game, it picked up at every game. Then we'd have a level playing field, and no one could argue with that. But at the minute it is discriminatory because, and worse still, it isn't even being pursued on televised games, because we can look to last season and the same committee didn't deal with certain instances that were well highlighted here. I don't know what they did about it, but certainly didn't follow it up. And how can we answer that if it didn't? If it's, the last game of the year isn't investigated, why should the first one be?
Yeah, Martin Carney.
I know, just taking both points, taking Seamus's point first of all, like I've, agree with every facet, every organ of the GA. We all want to see foul play eliminated. We all want to see indiscipline punished and that. But I fully agree with what Mickey is saying. I feel that this retrospective trial by video that we have seen this year wasn't communicated before they launched this particular campaign. It contrasts greatly, like with what happened last year when you had a huge education and I would say communication blitz by Croke Park to remind us of the new regulations that were coming in relation to cards. Like, this came in nearly by stealth this year, and I feel myself that it is possible to have all 16 games covered. Like, every county board covers its games, its home games, and surely Croke Park could commission to get the video of those games every Monday morning. CCCC act as shall we say, a commissioning agent, look at the games and actually punish any things retrospectively that were unjust and were illegal during the course of those games that hadn't been punished up to then.
If Seamus Woods, you have respected managers like Mickey Harte, like John O'Mahony that we saw in the video clip there saying this is ill-conceived and ill thought out. If you have referees, top referees like John Bannon, disappointed the people from Croke Park coming back to contact him, is it not a point at which you say to yourself, maybe we should actually look at this again? Do they have a point?
Well, if I could deal with the point about ill-conceived and ill-thought out, this system, as I said earlier, was introduced in 2006 and nothing has changed since. Nothing has been changed at Congress since. In terms of being ill-conceived and ill-thought out, this was devised by a working party that included major figures both within and outside the association. Outside the association you have Liam Keane, solicitor, Michael O'Connell, barrister at law, and Lord Chief Justice O'Flaherty of the High Court. That is the calibre of individuals that were involved in drawing up and devising this system and the procedures that we as a committee have to implement and that we are actually constrained by. In terms of incidents that may or may not have been dealt with last year, I have to say that we as a committee do not issue any press releases about any proposed penalties, because that's all we do. As I said earlier, we don't suspend, we offer proposed penalties, and we do not, never have and never will issue a press release about that. Therefore, there have been situations, you might suspect, in which penalties were offered and which were quietly accepted because they weren't announced by the recipient or by the recipient's county board. They certainly weren't going to be announced at Croke Park level, at committee level. So therefore there were instances dealt with which have been highlighted. Can
I ask just I accept that. Can I ask you just very quickly about one other element of it? You're looking at these things and you're upgrading punishments from yellows to reds and sending it back to the referee. Are you downgrading punishments? Are you looking back and saying that guy shouldn't have been sent off? We'll downgrade that. He was unfairly treated.
2 points I'd make to that. Just we do not upgrade cards. We can't. In rule, we
But you send them back for review, and
we send the
possibility
for
they'll be
review.
upgraded. So is there a possibility they'll be downgraded?
It is the referee who gives the green light, and if the referee,
can the referee downgrade a card?
No, he can't. But,
why?
But it is also included in rule that the process, again, the penalty is offered and it'll go to hearing, and we as a competition control committee will not prosecute that case, will not pursue that case. If we see from video evidence, this is a two-way street. Video can exonerate and it can also implicate. If it exonerates, then we will not energetically pursue that case if it's self-evident that that individual has been wronged.
I'd like to have you three gentlemen back at some stage in the future on the programme to talk about this further. We could spend a long time talking about it. Unfortunately, the clock has beaten us on this particular one. It's almost time, in fact, for us to leave here on the programme tonight. Now, before we go, let's have a quick look at what's coming up in sport on RTE television during the week. Against the Head goes to air at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Our weekly rugby magazine programme will be looking back at the weekend's Magners League. Now, more Champions League activity on Wednesday night. Our live game is the meeting of Inter Milan and Chelsea, and that man, of course, Jose Mourinho. Programme starts at 7 o'clock. We have another RBS Six Nations weekend coming up, where it all gets underway on Friday night with the meeting of Wales and France in Cardiff, and our coverage starts at 7:30. And then on Saturday, the big one from our point of view, England and Ireland, the main event of the day, and our afternoon of rugby begins at 1 o'clock. Okay, that's it from Sunday Sport. My thanks again to Seamus Woods and of course to Mickey Harte for coming in to join us here on the programme, and of course thanks also to Martin Carney. Next week here on the programme, more from the Allianz National Hurling League. I hope that you can join us for that. In the meantime, take care.